AEW Dynamite starts off with Jon Moxley versus Speedball Mike Bailey in a one-on-one match. Jon Moxley ends up winning. You end up getting an interference from Darby Allin. He ends up um, taking Wheeler Yuta, ends up putting him in a body bag later on in the show. Look, I don't understand why we're doing this. I get why Darby and Moxley are feuding. I get it. It makes sense. Why are we doing these mind games though? Like, can't we just have them just go back and forth? Like, why are we playing mind games? Because next week they're going to do Kevin Knight and Jon Moxley for whatever reason. I'm assuming Darby Allin is going to be involved in that match too. But you end up getting Darby, ends up putting Wheeler Yuta in a body bag, ends up having a note taped to his forehead saying Forbidden Door. So it looks like we're getting that match, which I'm fine with. Like I said, I'm fine with them feuding. It makes sense because before Darby Allin went off, he got written off TV by the Death Riders. It makes sense. I just don't like that we're using Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight to basically promote another feud when you don't need that. Like, I don't understand. It's like, why? Like, we don't need Kevin Knight and Speedball to tell this story. Like, just I don't understand why we need these guys to tell that story. We didn't need a 15-minute match just to get to the end goal here. I really don't understand why we need to do all this, but it looks like we're getting this at Forbidden Door. It should be an interesting match. I wish they would just have more segments with just them two, where they're just going back and forth, and you could just have Darby get jumped or whatever, or have babyfaces help him. Then it would make more sense. If you had Speedball and Kevin Knight come in for the save as Darby getting attacked, that would make more sense for this to be happening. But this is just happening for whatever reason. So we'll see how this plays out. But not really that interested in this feud, to be honest, especially with Moxley not being champion anymore. I definitely don't have interest because I barely had interest when Moxley had the title. The only interest was that he was the champion. So now without the title, I really have no interest in this feud at all. Afterwards, though, we end up getting a fatal four-way match between Alex, Queen Emanata, Sky Blue, and Billy Starks. This is a fatal four-way match to see who will go on at Forbidden Door to face Mercedes Moné in a four-way match. Alex, of course, picks up the victory because who else was going to pick up the victory in this match? You end up getting interferences from Toni Storm and Athena, but Toni Storm ends up taking out Athena. Does allow Alex to pick up the victory. Mercedes Moné makes her return. She ends up confronting Alex. Then you get Toni Storm in the picture. Then Athena takes out Toni Storm with a cutter. Then you get Mercedes hits a backstabber on Alex. And then you get a stare down between Athena and Mercedes. And that's it. So Mercedes Moné returns, and that's really it. Like, she returns from All In after a huge loss and her first loss in AEW, and we don't get nothing. Like, that's all we get. Like really though? Like I don't understand. Like, we didn't even need Mercedes on the show, to be honest with you. Like, I don't. Man, these AEW shows just get harder and harder and harder to just watch. Like, I understand Forbidden Door is not the most exciting pay-per-view. I don't even know if I'm even going to do a predictions vid, to be honest with you, depending on the card, because that show is just looking like a complete waste of time, and it's just complete filler. It's giving me Crown Jewel vibes. But we'll see how this plays out. Not really excited. I'm really have no hope for that pay-per-view. The only thing I'm hoping for is Athena winning the AEW World Championship, but I don't even know if that's even happening because I just highly doubt Tony Khan is going to pull the trigger and have someone else other than Tony Storm and Mercedes be the spotlight of the women's division. So we'll see how this plays out. Afterwards, we end up getting the Don Callis family. They end up cutting a promo due to Kyle Fletcher winning the TNT Championship. Glad that he won the TNT title. I don't have high hopes for this because it's been the same story that I've been saying. It's just a Collision title that's just featured on Collision. It's basically the Collision World title, so I don't really care because Collision doesn't mean anything. It's not impactful, and it's really not important because it doesn't. It's basically filler. So I don't really care. I wish I could care because I like Kyle Fletcher. I think Kyle Fletcher should be one of the guys you actually build, that company around. I'm not saying he should be one of your top. Well, he could be one of your top guys. He's just not like the actual top guy. But I think he's someone who should be on Dynamite more. He's one of your better up and coming young stars, but they just relegate him to Collision. So we'll see how the run plays out, but I don't really have any hopes for that TNT title run at all. We get the Young Bucks versus Brody King and Bandito qualifying match, eliminator match to see who goes to face FTR in the finals to determine who will be the number one contender against the Hurt Syndicate. Very shocked that Brody King and Bandito won. I thought the Young Bucks was clearly going to win, and they was going to just run FTR and Young Bucks again, which I was very shocked. Glad that they actually won this match, and I'm still thinking FTR is going to win, but who knows? Maybe it's going to be some shenanigans because next week Adam Copeland faces Stokely, and if FTR interfere in the match, then the restraining order that they have on Adam Copeland is non and void, and that he could get within a certain he could get within reach of FTR. Now he doesn't have to stay away from them. So if FTR does interfere, that could cause some issues where Adam Copeland could potentially interfere in that match against FTR and whoever they face between the Young Bucks and well, not the Young Bucks, between Brody King and the Hurt Syndicate and FTR, of course, whenever they win that match and at Forbidden Door, he could potentially cost them the AEW Tag Team title, so that could be very interesting. This could go some ways, so I could potentially see the outcome, or he could interfere in their match next week. I'm assuming where they're going to have the tag match for that number one contendership, where he could potentially interfere in that match, preventing them to even face the Hurt Syndicate. So either way, I can see Adam Copeland either costing them the AEW tag titles or preventing them to even get a shot at the AEW tag title. So we'll see how this plays out. Now we end up getting a quick Swerve Strickland promo. Not going to go that in depth on it. Basically, he just mentions Okada. I have zero interest in this feud. This feud has little to no heat and no story. The story is literally Okada being mad that Swerve beat them at All In and got rid of their EVP title. But I don't understand why is he that mad, because for weeks and even a month or more, he hasn't even been with the Young Bucks. He doesn't even interact with the Young Bucks like that. He's been with the Don Callis family. So why does he care so much about the Young Bucks so much? Now I get they're friends and they're part of the elite, but he hasn't really been with them in a while now. So I don't even understand that. And then if that's the story, is he gonna go out the Will Ospreay? Because if he doesn't go out the Will Ospreay as well, then this story makes no sense at all. I honestly do not care about this at all, to be honest. Probably would be a banger match, but story wise, this is just so irrelevant. Then we get the main event. Before it was a segment with with MVP, MGF. MGF is trying to tell MVP. I don't know why I keep on saying EVPs. MVP. That look, they don't need Bob. They don't need Shelton. It's just it could just be him and MVP. They could just be a duo. Go after the AEW World Championship. MVP, of course, ends up telling Max that he's too selfish, that he's his ego is getting in the way, and that's why they end up kicking him out, because everything is always about him instead of being a group. And he ends up saying that he hope that when he does cash in on that AEW World Title, and if he does successfully cash in, that Bobby Lashley will come after him. This leads to the main event. MJF picks up the victory due to some shenanigans. This match made no sense because this is a grudge match, which I don't understand what is a grudge match, because apparently you could use tables in a grudge match, but there's still count out and there's still rope break and there's still disqualification. So I don't understand what was the purpose of Mark Briscoe bringing out a table. Because Mark Briscoe brought out a table, but there's still disqualification. So was he just going to put MJF through a table and get disqualified even though he was trying to win the match? Or can you use tables and weapons, but you could still get a rope break and you could still get disqualified? That made no sense. He goes through the table. MJF moves out the way. Then this leads to a count out. Well, not a count out. And Mark Briscoe got in at 9. MJF ended up hitting a heat seeker. Then he ends up getting a pinfall. Mark Briscoe put his foot on the ropes, but the referee didn't see it, so that allowed MJF to pick up the victory. MJF ends up attacking Mark Briscoe. Hangman comes out. They brawl. Security breaks them apart. They brawl again. Security breaks them apart. MJF ends up getting away. And that's the end of the show. This show is terrible. This show is bad. This show is terrible. That was the only enjoyable thing about the show, was really the MJF Hangman stuff and the Hurt Syndicate stuff. I did say that if MJF was to win the World Championship, you got to put the Hurt Syndicate involved in that storyline, because they should go after MJF. And I said that is a good way to introduce Bobby Lashley to the main event scene. A new person we haven't seen in the main event scene. Very interested to see how this plays out. That's really the only thing that was interesting about this show. This show is terrible. This show is terrible. I hate criticizing AEW, I really do, but they do not make it better. But to be fair, I wasn't expecting good storytelling anyway, because I'm used to it with AEW. Plus, Forbidden Door is just a useless filler pay-per-view anyway. It's really just to promote their partnership with New Japan, CMLL, and all of that, even though we got like 4 matches that are strictly just AEW versus AEW, which is very confusing. So we'll see how this all plays out, but you gotta let me know your overall thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.